Live. Let's see. Okay, now
There
we're
we
live.
go.
Welcome to Seller Sessions, everyone. I am your host today, Sharon Evan, and today I have the one and only Paul Barron with us today. It's not Paul Barone, it's not anything else. It's just Paul Barron, the King.
Baron. The King. Wow.
The King.
That's the King. I mean, you could say Baron because it is a French it is a French name, so you could say Baron. But yeah, it's Baron. We bastardized it here in America.
That was a pretty good French. That was like a pretty good French accent that you had there.
Je parle français un peu.
That's awesome. I understood everything you said. So, Paul, today I told you, for the people watching us, I told you that I usually am extremely prepared, and I was like, I'm just going to go with the flow today. This is such an awesome subject. So we're talking today about brand building and influencer marketing. And it's pretty awesome because last week I had on Gracie, who's got 1 million followers on TikTok. And then we were listening to her from like an influencer's point of view. And then this week we have you on, where you're really well known for your chatbot marketing, but in general, you guys with your brand, which you're going to tell us about shortly, work a lot with influencers. So it's going to be awesome hearing it from, a seller and brand's point of view. So welcome to the show.
Well,
Thank you for coming back on.
I don't have 1 million followers.
No, neither do I. We don't have 1 million followers, but we do have some awesome brands. So Paul, can you please, for the people that don't know you, please first of all start off with introducing yourself?
Yeah. So how far back do you want to go with my journey? We want to talk like starting businesses when I was a kid all the way up, or like?
We can totally, let's say we'll spend 10 minutes all about you. So however long it's going to take, you've got 10 minutes to tell your entire story of how you got to your seven-figure brand.
Well, my favorite movie of all time. Actually, that was honestly the first thing that came to my mind was like junior high or high school rather. I would go to my best friend's house like every weekend. We'd like I just live at his house, and we would watch Dumb and Dumber like every single weekend. I'm not even kidding. I've probably seen Dumb and Dumber like 200 times. So there's a little
same movie over and over. Love it.
Oh, I love it. That, and I would always try to get him to watch Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail. Like that's I like that movie. I think it's hilarious. It is actually one of my favorite movies. He didn't like it anyway. So there you go. Monty Python, the Holy Grail, Dumb and Dumber. If you ever meet me and you want to just throw some stupid quotes out, we can talk. So I got started in entrepreneurship really at a young age. I think it's just one of those things that oftentimes being an entrepreneur, you can acquire the skills, and there's a lot of people that are really security minded, and so they don't really get pushed out into their own until later in life. I was always of the don't tell me what to do. It could be trouble. Yeah. It's Andrew. I had a call with him yesterday.
I'm warning everyone in advance. This is probably going to be a lot of laughter here, but please keep going, Paul. As a child, yes, entrepreneur.
So as a child entrepreneur, my mom reminded me of this, that I would go to the grocery store and I'd bring little drawings. I actually asked her if I could take drawings to the store and sell them. And she said, yes, of course, because, you have a little cute 5-year-old and they say, Mom, I want to sell my drawings at the store. What are you're not going to tell them no? I mean, you could. But so I had a great sales pitch, too, because I would find grandmas. I knew my target market. I'd find grandmas and I'd hand them the picture first. And I'd say, do you want this? I didn't say, do you want to buy this? I'd say, do you want this? And they'd say, yes. And I'd say, okay, great. That'd be 10 cents. So I get them to express desire first. And then I say, okay, well, that will cost you 10 cents to, most of the time they would pull some money out of their purse. Sometimes they say, oh no, in that case, sweetheart, here's your drawing back or something like that. So I don't have a formal education. I was going to school in Australia. In 2001, I was going to be a pastor. I went to a leadership and international. That's Rana. I can tell that comment is Rana because he calls me the maestro. I was actually going to be a pastor, but I love just helping people kind of be better at life. Sometimes I'm good at life. Sometimes I'm terrible, but I'm still dead. So at least I'm good at that part. I haven't died yet. But so far I'm 100% good at staying alive.
That's amazing. Well done. Good on you up to now.
Yeah. So I went to school to be a pastor, and those plans were derailed because of the economic downturn. 2002, the U.S. economy just went in the shit, and couldn't get back to school. Not that I didn't want to, or you needed training to necessarily help people. It just felt like at that point in time, like I was following God's will for my life, and it just didn't happen. So I was like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Fast forward a few years, started and failed several different types of businesses, a graphic design business, a wedding videography business, what else? Landscape company, all kinds of things. But all of this was, I kept wanting to work for myself for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have a degree. And when you go to apply for a job, they're going to ask, most of the time, any good paying job, they're going to have a degree as a requirement. So I didn't have that luxury. And the other one is I don't like people telling me what to do. Like I said, I want to do it myself. Like I'm stubborn, and
I'm smiling. I'm smiling because I can relate, and probably everyone listening to us can relate to exactly what you were saying.
Well, it's interesting because like my stages as an entrepreneur, or I've gone through stages. Like, I guess the first stage was like I'm rebelling against whatever. So we had a little conversation before starting, like staying up late. Like I could stay up till 6 a.m. if I wanted, like every day. The hard part is I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and well, yeah, you could stay up till 6, but that means you're going to bed when they're waking up, and you just don't sleep. So yeah, there was like those stages of entrepreneurism where I was just like, no rules, no structure. I'm just going to work whenever I want to, do whatever I want. And, that was back in, I think, like 2014 or something. Anyway, so I started and failed multiple different types of businesses. I got hired on at a company as actually applied as a graphic designer. Long story, that didn't work. But I got hired on as a project manager. And if you know me, I'm not good at keeping time organized or replying to people in messages. Certain people may have to like tag me multiple times to get my attention. So being a project manager, not a good fit. Like I'm just not really, I'm terrible at time. And that's like the one thing that you need to be good at is time management if you're going to be a project manager. But I am really good at sales, and I'm also really good at marketing. And they kind of noticed that, again, even though I don't have a degree, their whole thing. One second. My wife keeps trying to call me.
You want to check that everything's okay? Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to send her a text and let her know that.
While you quickly say that, so I don't have a degree either. And I can totally relate to everything that you're saying. And I also have a 4-year-old. You said that you have, I think you said a 3 and a 6-year-old.
Yep.
So I have a 4-year-old, and I used to go to bed, especially on the clubhouse days where we were like clubhousing every day at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd have to wake up at like 6 or 7. And then I'd go to sleep for another 2 hours. And then it's like, it was really, really bad. I've worked a lot on my sleep management skills, making sure that I get enough sleep every night, because it's just not efficient. Like I'm just not giving my 100% if I don't sleep well. So
I'm right there with you. And I still have a little bit of that like internal rebel. Well, not a little bit. I'm definitely a rebel, like at heart. Like I don't like being told what to do. I feel like entrepreneurs, generally speaking, are a little bit like that because they want to do it themselves, and it's interesting because you got to hit your head against the wall a few times to realize that maybe that wall just won't break. And so you've got to change your tactic and your strategy. And I'll have calls with people that, God bless their souls, like, they want to launch, this insanely saturated market, nothing unique about their brand, nothing unique about their product. And I don't even know how much they've invested, but then looking at the launch costs, like, we know, how to figure out how many units you need to move over a certain period of time, whether it's Helium 10 or Seller Tools or ZonGuru or all the tools, right, that we have. And, doing simple calculations are like, okay, well, this launch is going to cost you like $20,000. Like, are you okay to do that? And it's hard because in my role as a consultant, sometimes I have to do that and be like, I don't know that we're a good fit to work together because I don't believe in this product. I'm sorry. Like, that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you, just because I do things a bit differently. I do coaching, and there's many times when I have to tell, someone on the call, like, dude, this product's it's just not it. But let's talk about how you ended up on Amazon. So
let's
fast forward to, we're past the 10 minutes of the your story. Yep. We're going to get into that. How'd you get to it?
Yep. So long story short, I got fired from this job. It was kind of
as a project manager.
As a project, well, they actually moved me into I was director of channel sales. Long story short, 2 years later, well, within 3 months, they moved me into sales because I'm really good at sales. I ended my quote unquote career there, short-lived career, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. They fired me, and I needed to be fired. But that was a whole nother thing. I went through a couple of years of depression trying to figure out myself. But during that time while I was at that agency, I had to learn a lot about SEO because I was selling search engine marketing, search engine optimization, ranking. We were helping build brands. Our clients would come to us, most of them, like the ones that were good and successful, had their own brands that they started, something unique about them, whether it be vitamins, or we had a lady who had like this face toner workout weird thing. It was like you put something in your mouth and you go like that, and it's supposed to like tone your face. So anyway, I started a web development agency on my own in 2014 called Catalyst Media Group with a buddy. A year later, I'm trying to start this agency. I'm working nights as a waiter. I see some ads that my friend is sharing for the Amazing Selling Machine course, which is round 5. And this is 2015. I didn't have any money. I had a credit card that had a bunch of like room on it because I'd never used it. So we put the course on a credit card, put our inventory on a credit card. And so now here we are. So that's 6 years. 6 years later.
Who don't know you, what does "here we are today" now mean?
Here we are today. We've been on the Rachel Ray show. We had a partnership with an Olympian who's she's an amazing, probably one of the world's best soccer players. Most of the time people won't know her because, one, she's female, and people don't really follow female athletics. Like, we're weirdos here. We follow the U.S. women's national team because the men's team sucks. They're so bad. But we watch the women's soccer because they're really good. So we did a partnership with her. We've done a ton of stuff with, I don't know, we've been on the news, like televised news, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, a bunch of blogs, a bunch of newspapers, a bunch of articles, Forbes, parents.com, New York Times, all that sort of stuff. So it's funny because I still feel like, imposter syndrome sneak up every now and again. Like, oh man, I wonder if this is all just going to evaporate, and maybe all my success is accidental or whatever. But then I look and like we keep getting the same types of success, so I know that we're doing something right. It's just so that's where I am. Yeah, that's where we are today. We own one brand. We're starting another one. We've been in the process of doing that for about 6 months, 9 months, something like that. Working on branding, building an audience, and all that. That brand will be launching in about 12 to 15 weeks. And I own an agency called the Chat Agency, and we do done-for-you chat marketing services, and we help people build out armies of influencers. So that's where I am today.
Amazing. I didn't know that you're working on your brand, a new brand. So just like out of curiosity, is it in a totally different niche? Because today you guys are in the baby niche.
Yep.
Is it totally different niche? Different buyer avatar?
Yeah. So it's soaps. And it's going to be similar buyer avatar, actually, because our swim diapers are sold to people that typically care, or at least are more proponents of clean living. Whether that is, whether they're like super hardcore and like Greenpeace, picking up plastic wherever they walk, or if it's just they're conscious of their recycling habits and they try to recycle when they can, but they don't really care most of the time. We have a wide spectrum of people that purchase from us. But it is similar-ish avatar because the soaps that we're going to be making are 100% eco-friendly. They're actually water safe. You have like Mrs. Meyer's, it says it's biodegradable. It's freaking soap. Of course it's biodegradable. It's stupid. But Mrs. Meyer's is actually not water safe. It's not like, our soap is better for the environment. Long story short. So yes, similar avatar, similar customer groups, bigger market. And so we're going to kind of be starting with a lot of our audience that we built for Bow and Bell Littles.
So your brand today, you guys are open about your brand. And like you said, you guys wear, by the way, I'm not like super eco-friendly. I wish I was, I'm just not. And when my son was younger, we took him to swimming lessons. It was like 3 or 4 months old. And I bought him, I think it was like 3 or 4 reusable swimming diapers as well. And it wasn't because of like the eco-friendly side of things. It's just because the actual like diapers that you have from like Huggies or whatever, they just get all gross. I don't know how to explain it. I love the reusable diapers, like as an actual, like someone who was part of like the perfect buyer avatar for you. So you guys have worked really, really hard on brand building, on building your brand on and off of Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what for you as a brand owner, brand building looks like for you? And then later, I'd love for us to start getting into how you guys use influencers, find influencers and work with influencers. But let's talk a little bit about the brand building side of things for you.
Yeah. So going back to my days when I was working at that agency, a lot of what we would do would be like logo design, website design. We would help people establish brands from scratch. Now, they weren't the best at what they did, but it gave me a good insight into like at least understanding that like you've got to have a good visual appeal. You know, that's kind of sort of square one. You know, my brain sort of is like a giant pot of spaghetti. Like everything is connected. So if I start making analogies that don't make sense, just bear with me. It'll come together at the end. So think of it like when I think of branding, I think of like a good restaurant or something. If you go to a good restaurant, it's not just the food. It's not just the atmosphere. It's not just the service. It's all of those things, right?
I used to own a restaurant, so I totally get it.
Yeah, right. So like you see a lot of restaurants that have absolutely amazing food that fail because the atmosphere is terrible, or it fails because the service is not very
Customer
good,
service,
or something along those lines. And branding is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what your brand is, right? It's like the things that you see of a brand would be like a logo, the name, potential like color palettes, your website, maybe packaging. Those are things that you see about the brand, but that is not the brand. That's just a visual representation of the brand. A brand is a lot more like a person in that there's a lot more complexity and depth, or at least there should be. Especially in today's day and age, when we have savvy consumers that are wanting to purchase, millennials, Gen Z specifically, and a lot of my generation and even my parents' generation start looking at value-based purchasing versus just getting the best deal for their money. That's kind of what I'm thinking of is in terms of branding, it's got to be about more than just being the cheapest thing. You've got to have something that attracts people to you. So ultimately a brand is something that leaves a mark on someone. They look at your stuff or they read your stuff or they buy your stuff and you leave a mark of some type on them. Ideally, you want it to be something a positive that they want to come back. They feel whatever that connection moment that you're trying to create. So Campbell's Soup, for example, their brand is about comfort. Campbell's Soup. There's this big old article recently. I can't remember whether it was Forbes or Business Insider or something, all about just the Campbell's Soup brand. And you think about what is it when do you eat soup? Well, you're eating soup generally with family, or you eat it when you're sick. It's about you're comforting yourself, whatever, right? So Bow and Bell Littles is about positive parenting, creating good humans, leaving the world a better place than it was when you found it. And we do that through creating quality moments and having fun with our kids when they're still little. And how do we do that? Well, we have reusable swim diapers. You go, they're the best on the market, and they do the best job of keeping poo out of pools, which, I mean, there's a lot of in that we go in our brand voice too about like humor, because we talk a lot about poop. Like, you can be funny. The poopy swim, which one about the poopy swim diapers? The one where Amazon shipped 2 used swim diapers out? They did that.
Oh my God.
We had customers return swim diapers that were used twice that I know of. There could be more, but we have one negative review that somebody left. They didn't reach out to us. The other person actually emailed us, but it was in the same week. Amazon did this. Anyway, coming back to branding, like, we can use that as a joke because it is kind of funny. It's gross, but it's funny.
But it's actually, it's interesting what you're saying, because I talk about this really often. I say that, for example, one of our brands is a beauty brand, and it's an anti-aging brand. And when we came in, everyone on the market, it's very ruthless, niche, but our specific niche is like within a sub niche, right? For the specific brand. And when we came in, everyone was really healthy looking. Everyone had really healthy looking colors, and it was like peachy colors and like light greens and light blues and a lot of white, right? Because that's usually how, when you go into anti-aging or into beauty products, it's usually how it is when it's more of like a healthier product. And we decided to come in, we knew from the very beginning that we were going to come in with metallics, blacks and metallic gold and metallic, not metallic black, like black with metallic gold and metallic pink. And we came in as it was more of like luxurious. And then we always knew that is where we wanted to place ourselves. We wanted to distance ourselves from like the super healthy side of things. And one of the competitors that came in the last year, they came in as a funny brand. So they turned it into everything on their packaging is around like humorous. They've given each product a humorous name, which is pretty smart, smart marketing. So I think that using humor can definitely be something that, especially in your niche, that definitely makes
like
sense.
And like,
you remember it too. It's memorable.
Yeah. It's a diaper. Like, what is a diaper supposed to do? If you blush when you're talking, it's supposed to hold poop. If it doesn't hold poop, it's not doing its job. And you mentioned something there, even in that, Sharon, that I think that like a lot of times I pull from my past experience and I don't realize it. Like color psychology, for example, right? There's a lot of psychology to even color choice, picking colors. And so if I could get people to do one thing, it would be to stop using Fiverr or 99 Designs for logo creation. Like, go to a real freaking designer. Like, come on, treat this like a real business and invest money into it. Because year 2, this is the first time I've actually ever said this on a podcast. Year 2, we got a grant from the SBDC, Small Business Development Center in our area. It was a grant loan. So it wasn't, I don't know, whatever. We got money. Whether it was a loan or a grant, I don't know. We got money. It was $25,000, not a ton. But granted, go back in time, we started on debt. It was $9,000, $8,000 on a credit card. We made $50,000 our first year gross profit. Second year was $250,000. And so $25,000 is a decent amount of money to get when you're not doing that much revenue. We spent $10,000 of that on branding, on doing a brand overhaul, and creating a better logo, better visual look and feel. Working on our inserts. We actually didn't have packaging then, but really working on all of that side of our business. And this is one thing that most people aren't going to do. Like in this, especially when you're that new. Like if I was going to go to a new seller, I don't know, what I was slipping into like a Southern accent there. If I was going to go to a new seller and tell them that they need to spend $10,000 on branding before they even start selling, most people wouldn't even do that. But if you go to a traditional business, and this is where my brain is different, that my background is in more traditional type businesses. Granted, I was a shitty businessman. Like all of my businesses failed, but at least I knew what, certain things not to do because I failed so many.
You learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
They prepared you for where you've gotten today.
Exactly. And so
I'm really interested in what does that mean to you when you say, if you went to someone and said to them today, you need to spend $10,000 on branding. You're talking just about branding. You're saying that most people would say no, but if you went to a traditional business, they would say yes. What do you, in your opinion, do people need to spend $10,000 on branding when they're just starting?
Okay, so whether or not they need to spend that money, it needs to be that important that they need to understand that it's extremely important. Whether they can afford to spend it or they can't, they need the way that they think about branding needs to change because it is extremely important. Now, facts are, if they told us to spend 10 grand on branding when we started, we wouldn't have because we didn't have the money. Literally, I put everything on a credit card. That's why I did it year 2. I designed our first logo. It was terrible. We really, well, I could show you. We hired a designer that we had worked with in my web development company. Paid her $400 to do logo version 2, which we used for about a year and a half. Then we went into the better version. So it's just like a process of up leveling, but that was always in the back of my head that I wanted, like, it was just a placeholder. This logo that we're starting with is just a placeholder because we're going to get something more professional done. And again, because I know about branding, so I said it leaves a mark. So you need to be consistent with your messaging, with your color choice. And messaging comes in many ways. Like you said, you chose black and metallic because it's a luxury brand. Like you look at anybody who's in a certain like executive profile, there's a reason why they drive black cars. Like it appeals to that type of person. Like this is true psychology. It's not just bullshit that we're pulling out of the air. Like color psychology is a real thing. So if you're not a designer and you don't understand that, and you just pick whatever thing that makes you feel good, well, how do you know that what makes you feel good makes your audience feel good? Just because you like it doesn't mean that your audience likes it. And it doesn't mean that it actually helps you further the ball. And these are harsh truths that I think that people that want to succeed, that haven't failed at business before, they want to avoid failure. So they want to avoid things that make them feel bad. Here's the thing. I would rather you insult me and tell me that my plan is stupid, just tear my little dream apart, than lose $50,000 because I personally can't take it. You know, you got to be tough. Like if you have a bad idea, it's just an idea. It's not you. Anyway, so we're going off for our field, but branding is important.
You're saying that, and I'm thinking, I wonder how many people, because I've done a lot of one-on-one coaching in the last 2 years with Amazon sellers, over 700 people. And
you do one-on-one for 700. You don't do group coaching?
I've done over 700 one-on-one, not group coaching.
Oh my
700.
Gosh.
I have a lot of experience outside of my niches, because the thing is, I used to live in the bubble of only what I knew, which was my niches that I've been in for a long time, even before Amazon. So anyway, you were saying that, and I was thinking, I wonder how many people were listening and they heard it, that I've had people cry to me on a call because I said, look, dude, I'm really sorry, but I can't help you save this product because it's just another Me Too product. And I was thinking, I had so many things going through my brain while you were talking that I wanted to remember to ask, which I'll probably forget. But there's 2 main things that stood out to me while we were talking. And, I've been selling on Amazon specifically since 2016, but I first started selling online when I was 15 years old. And I was actually 15. I realized that I was 15. I've been saying 16 until now, but I realized I was 15. I first started selling on TradeMe.co.nz, which is like the eBay version of New Zealand. And I sold a lot of things online, but I talk a lot about brand building, and I talk a lot about that it always starts. And you were one of the first people that once Clubhouse started, like I started meeting a whole bunch of other people from the industry that I didn't know existed that were pretty awesome, like you and Rana, for example. And then you kept on saying buy a persona, and I call it buyer avatar. And you were like, you got to know buyer. And I was like, hey, somebody's talking like we're speaking the same language, because most people, in my experience over the years, that have come into Amazon specifically, because most of our listeners here on Seller Sessions are Amazon sellers, most of them are taught to look for keywords, meaning we don't, a lot of people say we don't sell products, we sell keywords, which I'm totally against. But anyway, Most people just sell random shit online.
Right.
And they don't even think about the brand building side of things. And I work the opposite. I say I start with finding the buyer avatar and I sell products for that specific buyer avatar, and I build a brand around it, because it's so much easier when you know who you're selling to know what products to bring out to them. And it's really sort of the opposite of what I've heard in the past few years of other people, out there saying. And I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's I love it and agree with everything that you're saying. But I think that before it comes to the logo and spending money and all of that, in order to even know what logo you need to know who your buyer avatar is. Yeah. And I know that you love talking about that. I think that's the core before you even get to the stage of thinking about, because brand building and building a brand, it's beyond just when we're talking about it from an Amazon seller's point of view, because we're not sellers, we're beyond that, we're brand builders. But if we're speaking specifically to Amazon sellers, it starts off with understanding who your buyer avatar is, and then you know what products to sell to them. Would you agree with that? And then what do you think, and how important is knowing who your buyer avatar is, which I know call buyer persona?
That's fine. So the way that I think about it, think of it like this. Most people prior to Amazon and in general in real world business typically start like solution-oriented businesses, meaning they have a product that solves a problem because of a problem that they themselves experience. If it's like inventing something or developing a better version of something, they're generally speaking doing it for themselves. So they kind of inherently know the buyer avatar because they themselves are the buyer avatar. So first and foremost, that's one thing that I always say. If you can do something that you yourself are a user of, do that over something. So for example, if you don't have kids, maybe don't sell in the baby niche because you just don't get it. Like, I'm sorry, sweetheart. If you don't have kids, you will never understand. And
what it's like to be a parent.
Ever. You could say that you do, but really you're just lying and you know it. And
I think for kids, you're right. But I have to say, I know that sometimes I have this thing where I know that sometimes it sounds like I talk about my coaching a lot. It's not me pitching, guys. It's just because I'm outside of my comfort. Like, I don't live in my bubble anymore. Right. And I can tell you, Paul, that over the years, because I've worked with so many other people, I am my buyer avatar for my niches. I'm also your buyer avatar, apart from the fact that it's eco-friendly. But I mean, not that I don't. Right. I just wish I was more eco-friendly, but I'm not. But anyway, I have seen men, for example, come in and get into beauty and do beauty, and they are not the buyer avatar. They don't get the buyer avatar, but they come in and they understand how to research the buyer avatar when they learn and are able to understand what products they want and then what problems they can solve. I've seen, women, same thing, get into, I can tell you straight up, you give me any niche and I don't need to be the buyer avatar. I will do I'll research the hell out of any niche and I will get to know and understand the buyer avatar.
And that's because you know what you're doing. And so what I just described of you being the buyer avatar, like solving it for yourself, is it's a good thing and a bad thing. Because what happens is that it's good because it helps you shortcut the process. You already understand a certain amount of it. It's a bad thing because you might actually be the perfect customer. You might be in the general subset of customers that buy your stuff, but maybe you're not the actual like perfect picture. So avatar, I call it an ideal customer persona or ideal customer avatar. You could call it that because think of it as like it's the ideal customer. If you could only have one customer ever and then you could just duplicate that person, who would that be? And what would they do? What would they look like? Where would they eat? What would they buy? What would they shop? What would make them happy? What would make them sad? What would make them laugh? What would make them, cry? All of these things. And so the methods for doing this, one, if you yourself are a user of the product, you can start there. The other way is if you have a friend who is a user of this product, you could interview them. Just seriously say, hey, let's go for coffee. We're starting this new business and I want to ask your opinions on certain things. Now, make sure they know that you're not going to be selling them like Amway later. Just sign up now. just let them know it's not that kind of business lunch. But you can ask people that. The other way, you can just make it up. Like if you have an idea of who people are, you can start making up attributes and then start researching more about those people. You can go into, so let's say if you're selling, we'll do beauty products. I would look at competition. What is my competition doing? What's the marketing that they're doing? Who are the people that are like regularly commenting on their posts? Then I'm going to go look at those profiles. I'll read about them and I'll start building this picture of a person in my head. And the idea is that you want a picture of a person, not just a whole bunch of demographic data. Because if you can think of your ideal customer persona or avatar as a person, and then it will help you when you're putting any ad copy together or any branding materials or marketing materials. You could say, will Sharon like this? Or instead of saying, will my customers like this? If my avatar was named Sharon, that's what I would do. Our avatar is named Kelsey. No, it's not Kelsey. It's Kristen. Well, it could be Kelsey because Kelsey loves us too. But we changed it to Kristen because literally there's one of our customers that buys every single thing we sell. And like it's every single time it's available, she buys it. Now, if you know my brand, you know that she doesn't need to do that. Like she only needs 1 or 2 of our products ever per kid, but she just loves our stuff and wants to buy it all the time. So at the start, we made it up based off of one of our friends. We kind of used our friend as a sort of avatar for our avatar. Over the years, we would refine it. We look at it every about 6 months to a year, see if it's still on track, and then adjust it as needed. So that's like brand building 101. Yeah, brand building 101. You've got to have that.
I'd love to add some of my perspective to the avatar side of things. So I personally, I'll give an example. I think it'll be the best thing. So I do a lot of, I once in a while do a product research marathon with my people. Anyway, and we did a product research marathon, and my starting point for finding products was going to Google and looking for careers. Like, what are the top careers in America? Anyway, everything that came up, the top 100 were all medical related. Nurses, doctors, everything was medical related. I was like, cool, let's go with nurses. Now, I'm not a nurse. I don't know anyone that is a nurse in my circle of people, right? And I also don't live in America, but I sell to mostly Americans. My brands are mostly sold on the American market. And I decided to start the starting point was going to be the nurses, and then look at, well, what kind of products do nurses need? So I went to YouTube and I listened to bloggers that are nurses speaking about different products that they need. And through that, I learned, for example, that nurses in America need to purchase all their own gear. I didn't know this. I thought that they go and work for a hospital. The hospital gives them, it goes down to the Sharpie or the stethoscope, everything. They're not given anything. I learned that, and it's crucial for understanding what products they need, because it's crucial information. Because now that I know that, I know I have like a whole bunch of potential products that a nurse would need. And then listening to more and more nurses speaking on YouTube. And then I got into a whole bunch of Facebook groups. I made a fake Facebook account, and I can't remember what the nurse's name is, but I got into a whole bunch of nurses Facebook groups in America specifically.
So you were a nurse? You were like,
yep, I'm a nurse. I'm a fake nurse. Yep. For the people listening to us, they can't see us, but yep. And I learned so much. Like, I feel today that I know so much about the niche, and it was through reading blogs, and it was through going to YouTube, and it was listening to what they had to say. So I learned, that they don't usually have a lot of money when they come out of school. So I can't really sell the products at a super high price. I need to be very strategic about my pricing. I learned that different types of nurses need different types of products. So these like suture kits, I think they're called, and all sorts of like whole bunch of different products that they need. I would have never known that if I would have only just looked at the competitors and what the competitors are selling, because the competitors may have not even, gotten into that specific niche, but I learned so much from going to YouTube and listening and going into those groups. So I think that understanding the buyer avatar or the buyer persona, I think that in many situations, it's more than just like asking the friend and things like that, which is obviously, if I could sit down with, which I did end up sitting down with a nurse and asking her a bunch of questions because I thought about making a case study on this. So I may end up doing it. But I think that apart from all of that, I think going into Facebook groups and like listening to them on YouTube and hanging out wherever the hell they hang out is also a great place. And I think that then leads is like the core and the foundation for them building the brand on top of that. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love that. I mean, if you're never going to beat actual firsthand knowledge, talking to people and talking to your customers. Now, if you were doing this prior to launching the brand, let's say that you had launched,
this was like at product research. This was like to actually find, and I have like a list of this much products, and obviously there's more things you need to look at it, which is the keywords, etc., which all fit in together. But that's how I found that.
I mean, I love it. It's easier for us now because we have an audience, and so we can go to them, and so we have a whole segmentation survey, and we have a giant thing that they go through. They get rewarded for it, but so I was working up to that fourth method. Like that's the best method, is talking to your people, if you can do that. And obviously you can, it just takes time. So Rana asked, is a persona avatar focused more on demographic or behavior? I do both demographic and psychographic. So behavior could be taken could be in the demographic bucket or the psychographic bucket. But psychographics are basically the motivators that drive people to do what they're going to do. So, like goals in life, things that make them happy or sad, those types of things. So I would say it's actually, you need demographics, but you need psychographics, behavioral analysis too. And there's a rise now, Sharon, in this industry, or at least in data. I guess we're talking about data collection. This is called 0 point. This is called 0 point data. And the reason why it's called 0 point data is because you're getting it from the original source. So if you can go to your customers and ask them things like, you do product quizzes like a makeup finder or like a skin test, or like what's your best lotion for your skin type, those types of quizzes. Those are amazing because it gives you all this incredible data. And the reason why this is important is Facebook removing, but Apple really, there's just this big push, privacy push, which is appropriate, removing cookies. So you had third-party data, which was from cookies, and then second-party data, or third-party could be purchase data that you just buy from an aggregator. Second-party data would be like cookie data and that sort of stuff, pixels and whatnot. Zero-party data is directly from the people, and you control zero-party data. So I saw Joe's question. What was Joe's thing?
Joe was saying that creating thorough buyer personas is crucial to the success of a seller. All marketing starts with fully understanding who your ideal buyer is. Sellers blow it off and have no clue what they're actually missing. And I think that was what I was also like trying to get to, is that a lot of people today are taught to sell products and to sell keywords, right? And not to build a brand, but just to sell products that make sense for that specific time. And I've always preached being against this, because I feel that when you actually work on building a brand where you understand who you're selling to and you sell those products to that specific buyer, then you have a brand that's beyond just Amazon, rather than just selling random shit that makes sense right now. And you're continuously running after the next product, because products have an expiration date unless you're building a brand. Right? That's the way I look at it, because everything ends up getting saturated. And once it ends up getting saturated, if all you're doing is just trying to bring your price down or bring your price up, and that's it, like you're gonna die at the end, right?
Exactly.
And that's why I think that brand building is so important on and off of Amazon. So I'd love for us to get into a little bit of the off of Amazon stuff, because I know that you work with a lot of influencers, and not only that, you have created your own brand ambassador group. So I'd love for you to share with everyone your take on in working with influencers, and then what does having a brand ambassador group mean and how does it work?
Yeah. So I call it the nano influencer framework. And I mean, mainly I do that is because one, it's kind of a structured there's a lot of structure to what we do. Let me go through. So working with brand ambassadors or brand, you can call them whatever you want. On Instagram, they'll go by brand ambassador, go by brand rep, brand enthusiast. There's some people still call themselves affiliates, but most of the time, the common parlance is going to be brand ambassador. When it comes to influencers in general, you need to understand that there are varying, just because someone's an influencer. So that Gracie you had on last week, she has 1 million fans on TikTok. She would be probably mid-tier, or even, if she was on Instagram, she'd be kind of a macro, almost a mega influencer, because she has a million fans. TikTok is, the bar is a little bit lower, so she's about mid-tier in TikTok standards. So that working with Gracie is probably going to cost per project a couple grand, most likely. And working with someone like her, you can expect to have a lot more creative process. She's going to take your product, work with you on some sort of promotion strategy. And that's the trade-off that you working with somebody like Gracie, who's a professional influencer. A lot of the times, the groups that we build groups of women that they don't view themselves as influencers. And I say women specifically because that's our brand. Now we do this for clients, and one of our clients, like almost his entire group is men. It's just a different buyer persona, different niche. So you can do this for men and women, across the board. It doesn't matter, what really niche you're in. The niche will determine kind of some tweaks to how you're doing this. So how we run this, when we first started this, we were doing this kind of as sort of competitions amongst the group internally, like everybody's competing for like weekly prizes. So I thought that was good. Some of them liked it, some of them didn't. The common sentiment that we got for the people that didn't like it was that there are people that just have a lot more time and they can always win if they just, flood like engagement. They just go ham and post 10 photos a day or something. They'll win the contest all the time. So we've reformatted and we're restructuring to it. So it's kind of like the Starbucks app where you're rewarding purchases. Now we're not rewarding just purchases, but there's a lot of other behavior that we're rewarding. So we give points for when they engage in our posts, when they comment on our posts, when they share our posts, when they share a post about us, they get a certain amount of points for a static post. They get a sliding scale for stories, like how much engagement they get. All this to say, what we've done is we've cultivated a group of people that love our products, love posting about our products, and then we reward them for posting our products with anything on up to like a trip. They could earn, our brand ambassadors could earn like a vacation or cash money. They could just cash it out. All to say, the approach that we take is working with a lot of smaller influencers, a lot of the times people that don't consider themselves to be influencers because they've never made money doing this, or they've never gotten any free things for doing this. And what we do is then we aggregate them into groups, and we work with them to become better influencers. So we give them tips and techniques on how to take better photos, how to create more engaging content. And, a lot of the women that we've worked with have gone on to start repping and getting paid by larger brands, which is a win for me because they've started with us. We're the first brand that they've ever worked with, and now they're getting paid by other brands, and they still work with us mostly for free because we're like, we're buddies now, like we help them get there. So, when in our groups, when we look at partnering with influencers, it's a lot more about long-term relationship. It's the same thing it's the same way that I live in long-term, like building a brand. It's a long-term approach. You do the hard stuff now because it's worth it in the end. Same thing with working with people. Like, I don't look at people as just a means to an end. Like, how can I leverage you to get me sales? When we started this, it was a lot more about how much user-generated content. When we started our search, we actually just started with an organic post, and we said, this is back in 2017. We had people tag us in 3 photos, comment that they entered, tag friends, and all this stuff. We had to shift our strategy to do an ads focused approach. So to answer that question, how do we find ambassadors? Generally speaking, we run ads and we build funnels to have the ambassadors go through in Messenger. They fill out the application, generally speaking, in Messenger, and that's where the intersection of chat marketing and influencers come into play, because I like to have everybody go through Messenger. Every now and again, we will reach out to people. I find that that's not nearly as effective because there's a lot of barriers to you contacting them directly. The one is just how Instagram works. If generally speaking, if you're not connected with somebody, if they don't follow you on Instagram, you message them, it's going to go into their
request,
the request folder. I just call it the spam folder because it's mostly all spam, but it goes into the spam folder. Alternatively, if they have their bio listed, like a link in their bio to a website, you can contact them through the website, or sometimes they'll have an email listed, and then you can email them. Generally speaking, they're going to be a lot more responsive on email than direct message, again, for the aforementioned spam folder deal. But like I said, I generally don't see as much success with that because of the people that we're targeting. Generally speaking, haven't had brands reach out to them. We generally see a lot more success in ads where people are applying, or in post-purchase inserts where we have that as a part of the funnel, where, it could be just a product registration. Then at the very end, you offer the opportunity for the chance to be an ambassador and explain all that to them. So that's, in a very brief 6-minute nutshell. I'm watching.
That was a good one. So no, you're all good. Gracie and I went on for like an hour and a half last week, but I love that's how you guys do it. I've done it a little bit differently in the past. We spoke about this a little bit earlier before we started. So we, for example, I actually used to do this myself when we first started, and then I actually hired someone at some stage to actually take care of it until I actually had an agency. Like today, we have an agency who does it for us. But I used to make a list, like an Excel sheet of a list of all the types of I would use hashtags. I would find all the different types of influencers that I'd like to work with. And we would usually reach out to about 150, and I'm legitimately not exaggerating. It would be around 150. And it was usually through Instagram DM. And maybe possibly 20 to 30 would get back to us out of that, which is a pretty good percentage. And out of that, a smaller percentage would end up actually working with us. Some of them we would pay, most of them we would not pay. And we built great relationships through them. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago, where today we still have a really good relationship with them. And I think something that you have said here, and I agree with that, is building a long-term relationship with an influencer is, in my opinion, very beneficial. Also, when you're consistently launching more products to their following, like for your buyer avatar, which would be their type of following as well. And it can help you really when you are then launching products. Not only for that, it was very unfortunate that last year, specifically on Prime Day, our products were taken down. But last year I had a campaign running with a few different influencers on Prime Day specifically, and then boom, Amazon took a whole bunch of our products down, and we were sending people to an Amazon dog page. But I think that method of it is it's probably not going to be for everyone. But I think for the newer sellers, reaching out yourself is okay. In many situations, you will have people, answering you. And in many, you won't. But it's just like when you're looking for suppliers, or you're reaching out and, you reach out to many, because not everyone does get back to you. But what I'm saying is I think it definitely makes sense for 6- and 7-figure brands to run ads. But I also think that the newer sellers can also, use hashtags to find ambassadors or influencers. Have you ever done that in the past?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's some hacks that you can do, like Google searches. You can go to Google and just type in site Instagram.com minus explore. You do minus explore because it removes the explore page. And then you type in whatever hashtag or thing you want, and then it'll bring up a whole list on Google. So that's one way that you could do this. And you could have like your VA, or you could do it yourself. Just go through, click on the links real quick, see like, does this look like they're a good fit for our brand? Yes, no. And again, what I'm looking for, I could share my screen really quick and do it. Would that be helpful?
You could totally do that.
All right.
And while you're doing that, in the meantime, do you only work with like Instagram influencers, or do you also work with people on YouTube or TikTok, bloggers?
We've started working with people on TikTok, and I prefer to work with people that have blogs regardless of where they're at. So,
I'm sharing a screen. Is it too early to? Is it okay?
Yeah, you can.
All
so
right.
For example, like I would do baby spam, or let's see, like, so that would be something that would be like in our niche, baby spam. But oh yeah, so here, like I had seen that we had a link from New York Times, and I didn't know where it was. So there you go. That's how I found it. So baby spam, or we could even do like hashtag.
For the people that can't see what you're doing because they're listening to us on the podcast, can you tell us what you're doing?
Yep. So what I'm doing is I went to Google and I just did a search. It just says, so here, I'm going to read it. It's site:instagram.com -explore quote, and then the hashtag sign, quote, hashtag baby spam, another quote. So basically how this works in search operation is that you're saying to Google that I'm looking on the site, only search on the site Instagram, remove results from the explore page, only show me results. It has to have the hashtag baby spam. So then we have Gabriella Castrovici, Mary Sales, Nikki, Alexandra, Lulu. So I'm just opening all of these up into new tabs. I'm holding down my command button and clicking. If you have a PC, you can hit the control button. So Gabby has 1 million followers, so she probably wouldn't be the ideal demographic. Yeah, I mean, she's demographic. I mean, she could be in our demographic if I wanted to pay. But I'm looking for something that we can do just an exchange of products, because she's got, her baby looks like is only a few,
pretty small. Yeah,
very small, only a few months. This is probably a few weeks here. New baby faces are so funny, because she's like super perfectly posed. She's perfectly posed, and he's looking like, what are you doing? Okay, so now I'm looking at another one. This one has 101,000. This one has 9,000. Her photo qualities, it's not that bad. So I would probably reach out to her. So she's found her at Everybody, which is, it looks like it's a swimsuit company. I don't know.
I really, can't tell what it is.
Yeah, so literally what I'm doing is I'm just looking at Instagram profiles that had made
a whole bunch of different ones.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at their photos. So I would reach out to her. So this particular one, Alexandra Michelle Gaines, she has 334 followers. All of her photos are about family. They're like life in the moment. They're not bad photos. They're actually they're decent. I would reach out to her.
She's got I'm really shocked. With 334 followers, you'd still reach out to her?
Yeah, 100%.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I love working with people that normal businesses would never reach out to. Because, how do I stop this? Because normal businesses don't reach out to them. That's one of the biggest reasons. So here's the thing, is that these two accounts that I found, there's one that has 306 followers. The other one has 334. It's 600 or so followers. Those are 600 real people. Okay. So those are 600 individual humans with names, hopes and dreams and desires. We don't know if they're married. I'm assuming a lot of them are moms or similar to her. They're most likely 334 friends of Alexandra. So that means that when Alexandra posts about our swim diapers, raving about them, chances are that at some point in time, all 300 friends of Alexandra are going to see our stuff eventually. And that's what I think of as a win. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that we dominate on Amazon, because we have a permeation strategy that's very brand first. It's not ROI driven. And most of the, we had this conversation before we even started, was, Gracie had said, that everybody always wants to know, well, how much can I expect in sales? And she was like, well, it's not always about the sales. And I completely agree. I understand both perspectives because I'm a business owner, and I'm a service provider, so I have to have these conversations a lot. But I've also seen, like, literally when we started this, the only reason why we did this was because we wanted user-generated content. We wanted permeation. We wanted to be everywhere. Again, going back to my restaurant analogy, right? So you have to have these restaurant, these things to have a successful restaurant. If you see a new restaurant that's opened and it's empty for weeks, nobody ever goes to that restaurant, chances are you may not go to that restaurant. Maybe you might go to it once, and then you're going to be really predisposed to assume it's bad. Because the concept of a crowd attracting a crowd is a real thing with humans across the world. It doesn't matter where we are, what language you speak, what religion you are. We all have that same comparison built in, that we're looking at things and we're comparing. We're always comparing. Yeah. So we see things and we say, well, this person has, nobody ever talks about them, so they must not be good. This person, everybody's always talking about them. They must be good. And so that's my strategy, is that if I can get into all of the Alexandras and all the Lulu's houses and all the Dahlia's houses, these are just names I'm reading off of Instagram, that if we can be there, and when their friends are looking to buy swim diapers, they see our swim diaper, then we're going to win. And that's that's just the way that I look at it. I don't look at like that's why I wouldn't necessarily reach out to the 1 million follower person, because it'll give us a big boost for a moment. But honestly, how many of these people actually know Gabriella, the registered nurse? How many of those 1 million people can say that they're friends of hers, that they actually have had?
I would never work. I would never work. So here, Gracie specifically is on TikTok, but she specifically does deals. So she works with people that like actually they're trying to rank or whatever it may be. But she didn't even start from a perspective of trying to actually work with brands. She was actually just someone who was posting deals consistently on TikTok, and then brands started reaching out to her. Personally, I wouldn't be reaching out myself to Gracie because she can't offer me something that I need right now. Maybe if I was at launch or trying to get rid of something, maybe I would have reached out to her. I think that I'm totally with you on the fact that I wouldn't even want to work with the people that've got the 1 million followers. Like, unless, I don't know, it was like a Kim Kardashian or something maybe. But apart from that, that's not usually the type of the influencers I would want to work with. I also want to work with nano influencers, but I usually am looking at, I think my minimum would be like between the 2,000 to 10,000. Not 10,000 to 2,000 to 5,000 minimum ish of followers. I until this exact moment didn't even really consider looking at the people that have got, the 300, 400 followers, to be honest. So I think that's a great, it makes a lot of sense what you've said.
Think of it this way too. If what you're wanting is content, let's say that you're really struggling to get any content, and you're in a position, maybe you're in another country, you don't know anybody that can take good photos in your area. If you get 10 people that have 300 followers, chances are you're going to get at least one good photo. Like, hopefully you're going to get a lot more. But yeah, you want to work with real people. So like Tim will read his comment from YouTube. Tim Kramer says he agrees. I agree with Paul here. Thanks, Tim. It's good to see that people agree with me every now and again.
I agree with you too. I agree with you also.
I know. I'm just joking. It's quite brilliant to work with.
Yeah.
Wow, he called me brilliant, with real people with small audiences rather than trying to get all the huge accounts. So that's kind of my thing, is that if you can get 100 people that have 300 followers, you'll have 30,000 right there. You get 10. You're up 3,000 now. Obviously, in the position that we're in now, we get a lot more bigger accounts coming to us. We have a couple people that are, 250,000, several 100,000. With them, we don't actually have like full-on formal arrangements. These are just like super fans that have developed naturally, and we're like courting them. So we do have those accounts that are posting about us. But the ones that we will actively go after, if I was saying, like, if I was going to direct message somebody, it would be that 300 account versus the 1 million. If I was going to reach out to Gabby, the registered nurse, I would actually take a different process. I would go through all of her posts, not all of her. I would look at a lot of her posts. I'd figure out, okay, what is she doing? Because just because she's a mom doesn't mean she's a good fit.
No, it doesn't. Also, a lot of these, trying to think of how to word what I want to say. A lot of these women specifically, this is for me in the beauty niche. Okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of the influencers specifically are mostly, in many situations, they could be beauty influencers, but like 70% of the people following them are men because of the type of images that they're putting up. I don't want to work with that type of influencer because their following is not interested in my products. They're interested in the images, right? So I think that looking at who you're following, like the engagement and the following and whether they're a good fit or not, definitely makes sense.
Right. Like I'm looking at, and it's funny, as you're saying that, I'm seeing there's those types of photos that there would be a larger male percentage of followers.
Yeah, it's something to think about. It's something to definitely think about. It's something I learned as well when I was reaching out to influencers, and it's just something I learned over time, because even if they've got beautiful images and doing all the right things, if really I didn't mean doing all the right things. I meant they've got beautiful images, but sometimes the types of images aren't actually attracting the type of people that would actually be my buyer avatar, So right. I think that that's also really important to look at who's actually following those people.
Yeah, exactly. Let me show you the difference here. And one of the reasons why I probably wouldn't reach out to Gabrielle here. So up into her, I'm sharing my screen again, Sharon.
Hold on, I'm sharing. Yeah, here it is.
So she's an attractive woman, and she knows it, which is fine. But a lot of our moms are more along the lines of the everyday woman who's like, I don't feel good about how I look in a bikini, so I'm gonna take a photo with my kid instead. And that's the thing, is it's like,
or maybe she does feel good about how she looks in a bikini. She just doesn't want to share it with the world.
Or she doesn't, exactly. So she's sharing her. It looks like it was her Labor Day.
Before, after.
So she's obviously comfortable with her body, which is like, that's awesome. I believe that you should be, but she's a lot more about her family, obviously. Like all of these are family photos. Like, I don't know if this is her husband or uncle, somebody playing a banjo. Whereas this is about, that's Nikki. Where did they go? This is about Gabby. This is about how good Gabby looks. And again, not that that's bad, but chances are that photos like this and photos like this are going to attract more males, because I don't know what you see when you see that, but I see someone trying to get attention.
Yeah, this is why I was saying you have to be strategic about the type of influencer that you're working with, because even if they do have heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of followers, it doesn't even mean that it's the right type of follower for you. And I learned that as well, specifically also in the working with beauty influencers. A lot of the time, or it's not just beauty, but in general, a lot of the time they are putting up beautiful images of themselves, but sometimes it's less about the skin or when I mean the skin, it's because it's anti-aging, so skin matters, right. But it's less about the skin or things like that. And it's more about like the way they look in the bikini and the way that, and then I look at, well, what kind of engagement do they have? And it's like 90% men, right. And it's like, that's not the type, no, but I have no problem with that. Just as a business owner, that is not the type of influencer I'm trying to work with, because if I'm working with you, I want to get to your following. And if your following is men, that's not my buyer avatar.
Let me tell you a good story about working with a YouTube influencer and what I did it was all wrong. Everything that was wrong about this. So I was testing this hypothesis that I wanted to use YouTube. This is back in like 2018. Everything was chatbots then. Poke her in the ass. God, Rana. I did maybe a little bit. I don't know. I circled. I don't really poke. It was more of a circling, like this area. Gabrielle loves her. Yeah, Gabriella loves Gabrielle, and Alexander loves her kids. Exactly. And so that's the thing that like we want with
it doesn't mean that Gabrielle doesn't love her kids. I just have to say that. It doesn't mean she doesn't love her kids. It just different people.
Her social persona is different. We'll go with that.
Yeah, we're not gonna let's not be judgmental. All right,
we're not going to.
Cool.
Yes, we're not going to make a value call on whether, because I know that I'm assuming that Gabby loves her kids. Anyway, going back to this mistake that I made. There is a channel that I started working with in YouTube. The hypothesis was I wanted to see if I could leverage YouTube to drive Messenger signups, which was kind of a flawed. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to talk about the research and what you should do, what I didn't do, and all that sort of stuff. This channel was a young family. The father is a pro fisherman. Wife is gorgeous. I don't know what, she stay-at-home mom, or I don't know. She was a former, like, she's a model, really pretty. So beautiful family. Their kid's gorgeous. They live on this lake, and they had 50,000 followers, and all the content on the channel was about their family and like home renovation projects and like, oh, look, this is what the baby's doing today. So on a cursory overview, I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is exactly what we need. Family on a lake. They can use a swim diaper all the time. They're in the water all the time. What I didn't look at was husband had a YouTube channel, a fishing YouTube channel. He started this family YouTube channel later, and all of those followers came over from his fishing channel. The majority of them did. So the majority of them are dudes that just want to watch some guy reeling a big fish, right? And they're not our target demographic whose mother is watching this family show. So I thought, I realized this after the fact. The other thing that I did was, when we were talking to them, there was no creative aspect into what ideas do you think you could have for our brand. There was none of that conversation. It was just, well, our fee is $1,500, but we'll do a discount for you, $750 for 30 seconds. So I was like, oh, they're doing a discount. That's great. Come on, we all know discounts are fake. Come on. Of course. Everyone knows that. Discounts are fake. So they do our thing. They put us 13 minutes into a 17.5-minute video, give us 30 seconds of time, and they mispronounce our name. They don't even take our stuff out of the packaging. It was really annoying. I was really pissed. There was no engagement. We had 5 people sign up for the giveaway that we were doing. We were giving away 2 strollers worth $150 each. So $300 worth of giveaways, plus we're driving. At that point in time, you could use Amazon to drive views to an Amazon video. Remember that when you did the Amazon giveaway, that was what we were doing. Anyway, so my lesson in that was I didn't do good enough research on the channel. I was trying to get something done quickly. I was trying to say that I want this thing to work. I was doing all the mistakes that I was saying you shouldn't do. Like, I wanted it to work, so I had confirmation bias. I was doing all these things, and so I didn't look at the actual comments. Like 100% of the comments are all males. And so had I even asked, what's your demographic? What are your demographics like? I didn't even ask that. I would have known that it wouldn't have been a good fit. So all that to say, when
you could also ask a YouTuber to send you a screenshot of their analytics of their demographics. Yep.
So this comes back to buyer personas. So we started this whole conversation about an hour ago or so. Buyer personas are important, not just for your buying demographic, but for working with influencers. Because if you're going to be working with an influencer, they need to match your buyer persona. So we know that our buyer persona is generally speaking, a more conservative stay-at-home mom who they generally speaking have a decent household income because they're upper income brackets. Most of the time they made the choice to have one of the spouses, typically speaking, the wife, stay at home. So they are looking for the wife is generally looking for other ways to make income. She's always like looking to get free things for her kids, but all of her feed and stuff is always about the family. And so that's why when I look at this, I can tell you Gabby wouldn't be a good fit. I know this because, we do this all the time. Now, when you're first learning how to do this, you're going to have to train yourself to see these things. Now, there's another one that's 101,000.
I just have a quick question about something you said. And then I also remember you saying something similar in Clubhouse. And then I just had like an aha moment. So you just said that your buyer avatar are women that are staying at home, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. And then you said that they also typically are wanting to like find a way to make another income. Sometimes. So are you like then using your brand ambassadors to like they're using your products, but then you're also using them to like you're giving them incentives for second income in order to promote your products?
So let me roll that back.
What I mean?
So not all of them are always looking for a second income. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But like one, for example, Carissa, they make a ton of money, but she wins all the contests. So I'm not sure if it's just about winning for her or what she does with the money that she wins. But that could be.
So, but your brand ambassadors, like you're actually targeting also women that want to, then you incentivize them. It's not like it's not just like, hey, this is the one time I work with you, one campaign, and then like goodbye. You're working with them for the long term and consistently.
That's the cornerstone. Like that's the cornerstone of what we do. When we have people that reach out to us, like we had some lady reach out to us, she has 2,000 followers and she's calling herself an influencer. Again, I'm a little bit more harsh when people call themselves influencers, especially when you have like 2,000 followers and you don't really have good photos and you don't really have good engagement. And then you want us to pay, like give you free stuff and pay you. Like, sweetheart, you are dreaming. Good job, though.
I can tell you I have an Instagram. I have an Instagram, 2,800, right, followers. I don't work on my Instagram that much, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, in our industry, I consider myself also someone who's an influencer because I make a lot of content, right? But and the thing is, when I first started YouTube, which was in 2019, I reached out to, I won't say who it was, but I reached out to someone and I wanted to work with them. And they said to me that come back when you have 20,000 followers, right? On YouTube. To date, I don't have 20,000 followers and I have huge engagement in many different places. I've never paid once in my life for anything. I don't have any chat bots and I'm fully booked for my coaching every fucking month. And this guy said to me, come back to me when you have 20,000 followers. I still don't have 20,000 followers. Almost everyone in the industry knows who I am, whether they love me or hate me. I don't care, but they know who I am. And I don't say this because I love myself or anything, but I was like, what an idiot. He didn't even do research. Like I could have done something amazing with him. It was like to do with PPC, and PPC is like the love of my life. It's like, it's my thing. And I was like, what an idiot, So I think though, that when you're looking at someone who says that they're calling themselves an influencer, that they only have 2,000 followers, you also need to look at, well, what else do they have elsewhere? Maybe that woman had a blog. And on that blog, she had 50,000 followers and you don't even know.
She did, and it wasn't good. But yes.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
So all that to say is my point that I'm trying to make is that the more that you do this, the more that you'll get better at seeing the bullshitters from the people that are real is 100%. What my point is, right? Whereas 100%. Like I was saying earlier, so Alexandra again, 300 people, like I'd love to connect with her because they even have a beach photo 7 weeks ago. So I don't know if they live on a beach but I mean, that'd be perfect. So all that to say, yes, it is long-term and we offer ways for women, for our reps to make money. One of the ways that we offer for them to make money is to write blogs about us. They can, if they own a blog, they can write about us on their blog. I prefer them to do that for SEO content, because if we get inbound links to our site, then that's going to give us more authority. And like, I mean, Joe says, small, high quality audience beats the shit out of a giant crap audience any day of the week. I completely agree. 100%. And that's where like, we look at getting a multitude. Yeah, we look at getting a multitude of links, inbound links, right? If we have an army of bloggers that are writing about us, they own blogs, eventually it's going to catch up and Google is going to rank us better, right? That's just how the internet works. Yeah. So we pay them for blog writing, whether they do it on our site or their site. We pay them commission on sales. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a whole bunch of ways that they can earn points, which the points they can redeem towards prizes or cash. So there's a lot of gamification built in.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Dude, that's genius. Hold on. I'm having aha moments from you. You're doing there's a lot of nugget moments here. Wait a minute. So a lot of people will hire like a copywriter or something to write their blogs, right? I know this because I've worked with multiple, and also many people in the industry. They actually hire a copywriter or one person many times, like it could be one specific person, to learn about their niche, and then they write their blogs. But what you're doing is you're using your brand ambassadors and then which are your buyer avatars, and absolutely love your brand, because otherwise they wouldn't be brand ambassadors, and they're writing the content for you.
Yeah.
Like consistently, multiple people.
Yes. So we have that, and then we also have the pro writers, because we have anchor pages. So an anchor page or pillar page would be about 2,000 words. So we have a professional writer do that. Sometimes we'll do like a bigger page. We'll have one of our brand ambassadors write. Some of them are really good writers. Some of them aren't so good. We pay based on how much editing we have to do, basically. If we have to do more editing, they get less cents per word. If we have to do less editing, they get more cents per word. And we're typically paying between 4 and 12 cents a word, maybe 20 cents if it's like a lot longer, more researched article. So if it's, say, high end, 20 cents a word, and we do a 2,000 word article, is that $200? Let's see.
What was the words? I was reading something.
$400 if we're paying on the high end. So anyway,
$400 for how many words?
A 2,000 word article. If we're paying on the super high end of the spectrum at 20 cents.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive.
Yeah. So all that to say, with our brand reps, with our team, coming back to the start of the conversation, when we started this, it was about building a community. It was about getting user-generated content and building excitement about our products in the niche. I didn't really have a really clear path or plan for driving that traffic to Amazon, because it wasn't about that. And that's the difference between, I think, a lot of what we do and a lot of what other Amazon sellers will do working with influencers. Because like you said, like with Gabby, not the Gabby we were talking about, the Gabby you had on your show last. Gracie.
Yeah.
Gracie, Gabby, Gracie, too many G's.
Yeah.
She does like product reviews. Those types of ads, those videos are direct, like buy this now type video.
She does deals.
They're deals. Like get this now. There's a deal. You got to buy it. So that you can definitely a lot more closely track the ROI. Or at least because it's a lot more shorter term. It's not a long-term engagement. This is a lot harder to do because we intermix big promotions, and then we'll track engagement and ROI on those promotions, like during a launch or something. But we're not asking our people to sell, quote unquote, all the time. We're asking them to take lifestyle photos of their kids, their families enjoying, our products and integrating it into their family lives. And that's the gold for us. Because we're not selling a swim diaper. We're selling a worry-free solution that helps you have fun as a family. It's something that you can put in your beach bag and be okay knowing that you've got something that you don't need to go. Like, you can go to the beach if you want to. You don't need to be like, oh shit, do we have the swim diaper? So what I say is our product stops 3 oh shit moments. 1, oh shit, I forgot the swim diaper. Oh shit, the swim diaper doesn't work. Or, oh shit, there's shit in the pool. Like, it stopped. There's 3 moments that we prevent. And so that's what we do. And we also help people have, create lasting memories with their families. So we've talked, I don't know.
This happens to me all the time, where my podcasts are always like the longest. They're always going for like an hour and a half. But I love everything that you said. I just think you're going to have to come back on another time and continue on some more stuff, because there were a lot of golden nuggets here. And I think that for what I think is most important for me, for the listeners to take out of this conversation, is that it all starts with brand building. It all starts with understanding who your buyer avatar is. You call it a buyer persona. But I think that it's everything starts and finishes there, because once you know who it is, it you know everything. You know what kind of logo you need, you know what kind of images you need. You know, sometimes you may sell a product for, let's just say, like a 10-year-old kid, right? But the person buying that product is mostly parents, for example. So even thinking strategically about what kind of images you're going to have, the product also solving the problem for the parent, not just for the child, because it's the parents that buy it and not the 10-year-old kid. So when you understand your buyer avatar, it helps you with your entire branding and also understanding what kind of influences you need to work with. So I would say for everyone, most important thing is it starts with the buyer avatar, and from there you can know what kind of, logo, images, everything else, your website, everything else needs to look like. Even your insert, your packaging, and then also what types of influencers to work with and what types of influencers not to work with. We had a lot of comments here. I was strategically deciding who to put up and who not, because I could tell that it was stopping you in every single one you were reading while you were talking. So I didn't want to distract you. But there were a lot of also funny things here, but also some inappropriate ones. Andrew did say Sharon needs a new mirror. Also, Paul, thank you for calling me by my real name. I should call myself by my real name more often.
Yeah, why don't you call yourself Sharon?
Because most people forget and they say Sharon. So I just say Sharon, but like my name is Sharon and not Sharon. Andrew said that I need a new mirror, so he sent me. You and I are both working with Andrew, and we won't say obviously what his product is, but he sent me his product for me to have. And my son threw it down the stairs and it broke a mirror today. So thanks, Andrew. But he has like a killer product. And it also, like, it was such a beautiful mirror. But anyway, and then funny. Joe said while you were talking, I just didn't put it up because I didn't want to distract you. Gamification of influencers is something we're moving towards and also is producing tremendous results. And then he said $400 for a 2,000-word article is nuts. I'll write for you. Saibi said Paul is talking a lot of good shit. I agree. Rana said it all boils down to the avatar of the persona. And Rana said Sharon. Paul, thank you so much for coming on. It made me realize that it was just, I remember that there was that time that we were on Clubhouse all the time, and it was just so fun chatting. I don't miss Clubhouse, but I miss hanging out with you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to reach out to you, to talk to you, to you specifically first, and then we'll talk about if anyone wants a really good diaper, where to go to. But if they want to speak to you, where do they find you?
So for me, you can go to thechatagency.com, and we have, I don't even know if it's updated. So if we have a bunch of stuff up there that is like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like what he talked about. Don't worry. It may not be, the site might not be updated. Just send us a message. Send us a message. There's a link to Messenger on there, and you can book a call. If you want to hire us, if you want an amazing swim diaper, and also report a fraudulent review, that'd be great. You can go look us up on Amazon. But seriously, I'm not kidding. If you would like to report the review as fraudulent or whatever, I don't know any other way to get this stupid thing down. It was the one that Amazon shipped, a poopy swim diaper, and it's gotten like 25 help. This is back in last July. It's gotten like 25.
Is it towards the top of the reviews now?
Look, last time I checked, it was the most helpful review that we've had.
Dude, that's like, isn't that like then someone doing it for you on purpose?
I don't know. I think it's Amazon being, I don't know. It could be. I mean, it could be. We have one particular competitor who's not super ethical, so it could be him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's still 38 helpful now. That's great.
Well, everyone go in and do helpful on all the other ones, so that we try and get rid of that one. And fraudulent review. Paul, thank you so much for coming on. It was fun. It was great. Sarah Shore is asking what's your brand names because she wants to go and help you with that review.
Bo and Bell Littles, or BB Littles. Bo and
Sarah
Bell
is awesome. She may even be a past buyer of yours, and we don't know. Not now because the kids are older, but I know Sarah. So anyway, Paul, thank you so much. You are awesome. Yeah. I appreciate you. I will have to have you on next time about either a similar subject or a totally different subject, because I know that you're full of nuggets. So thank you so much. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can also go to my YouTube channel, Sharon Evan, or reach out to me on Facebook, or Sharon Evan, I should start saying, because that's how you actually pronounce my name. Isabella will be back on Monday, and the one and only Danny McMillan will be back on Tuesday, and I will see you all next Thursday. Thank you, Paul, and bye, everyone.